we're gonna get this party started. First of
Let's get
all,
it started, big bro.
glad you made it through a good week this week, man. Lee, Eyes, thank y'all for being present with us also. We appreciate you guys, you ladies coming through for us as always. So I'll let you go ahead and legendary jump it off with the introduction, then I'll follow you back up with the topics we're gonna talk about tonight.
Yeah, first off, hey, welcome in. Y'all heard what Big Bro said, man. We appreciate y'all support for always coming through, showing love. For those of you who don't know, right, all the episodes it's on YouTube Parallel Gens. You can look at the bio, the link in my bio, Big Bro bio, if you want to go check it out. We're on episode number 17. All right. Episode 16 is currently getting uploaded on YouTube. It's not there yet, but it'll be up there soon. And then after that, obviously we'll do episode 17 today, and then we'll post it as well. Big shout out to Oz and Lee as all showing support, showing love for doing their thing. Y'all don't really see them up here on the screen, but they definitely do everything behind the scenes. Other than that, though, Big Bro, excited about the topics. Excited to hear your point of view. And yeah, let's get started.
I'm always looking forward to it, man, because one thing for sure is that we always have an interesting perspective. And the thing that people don't realize is, though, that we don't always agree on the perspective, but we definitely come to an understanding about them and realizing that we have different experiences in life, you know. That was the whole reason behind Parallel Gens, is that we wanted to have be multifaceted, to be able to talk about things over many generations rather than talking about it from just my generation or your generation. We bring both of them together to share it with the people that we are here trying to share information with, and make sure that hopefully that they can learn something from us, you know. So the first topic we're going to talk about tonight is going to be setting and maintaining boundaries, which is a big part of what we should be doing in life from day in and day out, especially when it comes to relationships. Next one we're going to talk about is rebuilding after infidelity. And then one that should be kind of exciting. And when I looked it up, it said it was an interesting and most exciting topic to talk about on a podcast. It said what men will and will not tolerate for happiness. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into it. Setting and maintaining boundaries. What does that mean to you, bro?
Yeah, I mean, first things first, obviously, is being realistic with yourself. If you can't be realistic with yourself, you can't be realistic when it comes to you getting into a relationship or being with your partner, etc. So first things first, what are you willing to compromise with? What are you willing to give and take? What are you willing to accept and not accept, in a sense? And it's just honestly just what we said earlier, just being truthful and being fair to yourself. There's no reason for you to make unrealistic boundaries if you yourself is not going to keep them, in a sense. So when it comes to that, right, especially when it comes to you looking for a partner or you being in a relationship, you need to understand what it is that you will and you won't, in a sense, compromise with. What that looks like is in a sense, hey, so for me personally, I don't drink. All right. I've never drunk alcohol in my life, but at the same time, the person who I'm with or who I'm going to choose to be with, I don't mind them drinking alcohol. A lot of people kind of got their misconception of, oh, you don't drink, so I won't drink around you. No, that's not the case. What I don't like, in a sense, is you as a woman being drunk or getting drunk and throwing up and blacking out and doing all these things outside in public, etc. Not only embarrassing yourself, but obviously, you know, you represent me when you're out there too. So if you're doing things of that nature, then that's bad when it comes to that. So another thing for me personally is I don't do the smoking. And that's just one of my non-negotiables when it comes to that. Like, hey, like I can't do the smoking. Not the cigarettes, not the everything that involves smoking I won't do. And then lastly, when it comes to setting boundaries, right? Even though a lot of people don't really take in consideration of social media, but it needs to, in a sense, just remember that you're representing me and I'm representing you, especially when it comes to social media. So if you out there entertaining a lot of guys, or you comment and talking about, oh, this guy look good, or oh, I can't wait to see you, and you heart and everything, you doing all that, those type of boundaries that you need to set and say, hey, look, I'm not trying to be controlling by any means, but if you're gonna be doing all that, and you know what I'm saying, representing me in a bad light, I don't want to be a part of it. Big bro, what you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on one thing you said about the drinking. I'm a little sipper. I sip every now and then, but I think you're exactly right though. If you have your lady out there and she's out there getting sloppy drunk and stuff like that, that's a bad look for her and you. And you don't want your lady out there representing the couple, the union like that, right? Because when you are inebriated like that, you make some bad choices. That's just going to lead to a lot of problems. So that's a good boundary to have. It's okay to drink, but don't drink to the point where you can't control your alcohol and control your emotions and your decision making, because that can lead to a lot of different things that can be detrimental to the relationship. And that's a boundary that you set, and you just leave it at that, because it's tough. If you get out there, and if you think you can get out there like that, we probably need to go together, or you need to have some friends you're hanging out with. They can watch out for you and take care of you. But really, really, what are we really doing, though? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that sometimes it doesn't happen, but what are we really doing, though? For me, though, I'm gonna go for a little different angle, though. Y'all know what my pastime is, golf. And I don't have a lot of boundaries, really. I have a couple of set boundaries that I live by, but the one thing is taking that away from you. A lot of people have a problem with the amount of time that it takes to golf, because they think that you can go out there for 3 hours and you're back at home. It takes a minimum of about 5.5 to 6 hours to get there, go and golf, good round, and come back home. That's 6 hours. And a lot of people are like, what? Yes, that's what I'm going to do. But see, the perception is, though, is that I put golf before the relationship. It's not before the relationship. If we don't have nothing going on, that's my time to go out there, relax, and do something that I enjoy doing. Just as you may have something that my lady may have something that she wants to do, that I'm gonna allow her to do that, and understand that that's her time to recharge, to regenerate, re-energize, and get herself together so we can be the best representation of what we can be for our relationship. So that's one of the ones I have, is that if you try to take that golf away from me, it won't work out well for you. It just won't work out well. And then the financial piece, we have to be financially responsible when it comes to it. And I'm big on that. I'm not saying we can't enjoy the fruits of our labor, because that's why we work, and that's why we go out and work so hard to do those type of things. But we have to be financially responsible. And I know that's a big one for you, bro, is making sure you take care of the finances, because a lot of people, they just think that since you're making the money, you can spend the money. Well, within reason, because we got to live tomorrow and beyond. So we can't just be out there just spend all the money and don't have anything to live by. So that's what it is initially for me. So do you have anything else on it?
Yeah, yeah. The next thing I want to add to that, obviously, is just treating people how you want to be treated in a sense. Now, a lot of us have different, morals and ethics, and we come from different backgrounds and beliefs, etc. But that golden rule still applies. Like, treat people how you want to be treated. You always say, like, you always want to ensure that the person that you with is treating people properly, even when you're not around, having that type of integrity, so that you can, in a sense, feel comfortable when you're not around and know that they represent you in a good light. But that being said, though, when it comes to those boundaries, right, communication is what you always say. Communicating the things that you feel, in a sense, that bothers you, and or things that you feel like may not necessarily be a big deal, but it might be a big deal to your partner. So me, in a sense, like saying, hey, like, you did something that I didn't like. I would have went about it this way. I'd appreciate it if you not do that again. Versus me seeing you do something that I don't like, and then me just sweeping it under the rug. And then you keep doing it for a couple of more times, and then I kind of blow it up out of proportion when I could have nipped it in the bud right in the beginning. So in a sense, just to add on to that, just treat people how you want to be treated when it comes to that. Communication is always key.
Yeah, that those two things right there, man. How you treat people when I'm not looking, and then communication. If I can't communicate with what I've learned at this big age, man, is that communication, and you hear it all the time, from the time you become an adult, communication is key, communication is key. But a lot of us fail at communicating. We don't truly embrace what that means. What that means is, if you're communicating effectively, is that I can come to you and you can come to me with anything. I said anything, and we can talk about it, and we don't change our attitude towards one another because of it. Because we are human, and we're gonna have different opinions about things. So it's no reason that, now if you come to me and tell me you out there with doing things with other people, other men, of course my attitude gonna change then. But I'm talking about everyday, day in and day out stuff that that we should be able to talk about, and it not be an issue as far as not talking to each other. That I talk a lot about that. Legendary is that it's something that bothers me more than anything is when I cannot talk to my partner. When my partner is not talking to me, you're mad at me. You want to sleep in a separate bedroom, or we got to wait until 2 or 3 days to talk. That will drive me crazy. And that's one boundary that I will not accept being crossed, because I think it's so important. Because when you're in that period of not talking or sending the person out of the house to like that, in that mindset, you never know what they're going to run into out there. That person that's out there waiting for them, they've been waiting for that opening. And now you just gave them an opening to come into a relationship. And the person, whether it's the man or the woman, you don't mean for that, but it's just a normal thing for someone to show that they care about you, and you kind of, relate to that. I'm not saying you cheat on someone, but you appreciate someone being able to talk to you and understand you. And it's just the devil in sheep's clothing, to be honest with you, because it's just a setup and we don't realize it though. But we control how that goes. We control that narrative. And another thing is, I truly, truly don't worry when I first meet someone. I worry about how they treat me, but I'm more concerned about how they treat others when they don't think I'm looking. That has never failed me. If I see someone being, like we said, I think a couple of weeks ago, we said it talked about being nasty to a waitress or a waiter because of whatever. Eventually, those three fingers are gonna come back at. They're gonna be pointed back at me. So I watch that, and that's one of the things that I watch. And I'll talk to, hey, look, we'll leave the restaurant and talk about, hey, I don't think that was necessary, because blah blah blah, whatever. So those are the two main things, man. That's at the core of my boundaries. Are really is the how you treat people, and also just communicating.
Yeah, so the last thing I'm gonna add when it comes to setting proper boundaries in a sense is one of the biggest things that I have is people choosing for me and not allowing me to choose for myself. Like if you got in a sense, it kind of ties into the self sabotaging. But like when you got in your mind, like, oh, you probably already doing this, so I'm not gonna ask you this. Oh, you probably already doing that, so I'm not gonna bring this up. That's in a sense choosing for me and not allowing me to choose. Just what you're saying, being informative about what's going on and allowing me to choose to say, hey, yeah, I like this, I don't like this, I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna go, etc. If you choose for me in a sense, where's the foundation when it comes to trust? Where's the foundation when it comes to communication? Where's the foundation when it comes to building something that involves the two of you being positive moving forward? Don't choose for me. That's one of the things that just irritate me to my soul. Allow me to choose. And then just what we said earlier, right, tied into the self-sabotaging. If you feel like that one of the boundaries in a sense is like, oh man, this dude, he looks in a sense too good to be with. Oh, I'm just gonna bring him down in a sense. Why are you self-sabotaging like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, why don't you feel like you can bring something positive or bring something to help build each other up in a sense? Allow that man to choose and allow him to lead in a sense. But yeah, that's the last thing I got.
So have you found that from your 20s until to now, have your boundaries changed at all?
My boundaries changed a little bit, only because in my 20s, I didn't have the mentality to say like, "Hey, you doing bad things to people, and it's gonna come back on you," or "Hey, if you continue treating them like this is gonna occur." Back in my 20s, man, it was just more so me essentially trying to find myself, trying to find what I like and dislike, what I like in a woman, what I don't like in a woman. And like I said on previous podcasts, I hate that I had to learn that through the expense of other women because it was some things I just didn't care about, and it was this void that I was trying to feel that I knew I couldn't feel, but I was consistently doing. Versus now, it's like I have all these things that I've experienced, and I'm trying to move forward and trying to utilize that to better not only myself but whoever I'm being in a relationship with, in a sense. Like I want all the things that we talk about on a consistent basis, all the things that you practice, or we practice in a sense, I want it to come to fruition. So I understand that the mentality that I had in my 20s, I can't have that no more because it was immature in a sense. Now that, obviously I was an adult back then, but now that I truly, truly know better, I know how to move, I'm going to do better.
Yeah, I like that a lot because I can just be open and honest that I really didn't have any boundaries that I stood on back then. You had some things you thought about, but I wasn't focused on the
Right.
boundaries. I was more focused on the chase and the capture. You know what I mean? And the boundaries
Exactly.
just didn't really, it
Exactly.
didn't really matter. It was just the chase and the capture, and I could tolerate them a lot more because I knew that it wasn't any longevity in what I was doing. So I just went along with whatever. Because I knew that I wasn't going to be there long term. So it wasn't no reason for me to just waste the energy to talk about some things because it just really didn't matter. So yeah, but now though, I have some definitely boundaries that I will not break or go against because they've allowed me to be able to make informed decisions about me and being in relationships. So it's really helped me focus on what I want, and also not only what I want, to be able to share that with someone that I'm interested in and trying to talk to that person to let them genuinely get to know me as a person versus being vague or being dishonest about what I truly feel. Now, how I feel and what I want, it comes out. And if somebody can't deal with that, then that's good that they tell me that up front because we don't waste a lot of time going down a road that have any fruit down at the end of the trail for us.
Let me ask you this. Sticking on the lines of boundaries, right? Would you be okay with a woman in a sense? Let's just say that y'all talking and y'all get to know each other, and you want to move to the next step, but she more so of like, hey, I'm a more of a go with the flow type person. There's no boundaries in a sense. How do you feel about that, or how would you proceed?
Yeah, it would be tough because no boundaries says a lot to me without saying anything at all. You know, if that person doesn't have any boundaries, that to me, and I'm not categorizing all women. I'm saying for that one person, that says that they'll be willing to fall for anything if they don't have any boundaries. You know, that means that they probably don't have any discipline. They probably don't have the fortitude to be able to maintain a healthy relationship, in my opinion. But that's something that we would talk about, and then if we couldn't come to a happy medium on it, then she's probably not the person for me, though. What about you? What do you think?
It's tough because I agree with everything that you said, but me personally, I'm more so on the open minded end in a sense with that. So I think the curiosity of what is it that you need. Obviously, I'm gonna need some left and right limits, and then just what we talked about earlier, allow me to choose for myself. Because even though initially, if you don't have boundaries, if you don't have boundaries for yourself or for a relationship, I'm immediately gonna go to the negative side, even though that's not my personality. But because of my personality, I'm like, okay, let me just give this a chance. All right, if you don't have boundaries, what's your left and right limits? Like you have to have something. You can't. And if she continues to say, "Oh no, anything goes," or "I'm down for whatever," and blah blah blah, I already know. I know what type of time you on. It ain't gonna work out.
Anything goes is wild to me. Anything means anything. So now I need some clarification of what is anything. It just leads into
Right.
so many other topics that we need to talk about that it may be a waste of my time. And at the ripe age that I'm at, bro, I don't have no time to waste, man. I just want to be able to enjoy my life, zero stress in it, and hopefully that's someone that shares the same opinion I have about whatever we're talking about, and we can go forward and do that. So that's yeah. I think you have to have some boundaries. Like I said though, when I was young, I didn't have any. So I picture that person as being that same person as me did. I didn't have any boundaries. It was all about the chase and the capture, like I said. So it'll be tough. I wouldn't be able to trust them when it came down to making serious decisions about making the right choice about our relationship because they have no boundaries.
Let me look. I know we got to move forward.
No, no,
Just
we
the last
okay,
part
bro.
about it.
That's all right.
When it comes to when it comes to you setting boundaries, because I genuinely, listen, y'all. I'm not agreeing just because it's big bro. I'm agreeing because it's true. Because like I've had that chase and capture moment. When it comes to that, like, what is it about it that allows us as men to figure things out? One, but two, what is it about the chase and the thrill that, in a sense, allows us to separate what we feel is moral and ethical when it comes to treating a woman right, in a sense. Like, what is it that blocks us? They be like, look, I'm just here for the chase, or I'm just like normally things like the positive side of me doing things. I don't really want to do it. I'm just doing it for the chase. Like, what is it that is it instinct? Like, is it like what is that? Why are we wired like that in a sense?
For me, it's a couple of things. The number one thing I think it is not dealing with unresolved childhood experiences that you've gone through. I've shared this before on here that I at 9, my babysitter started trying to teach me what a man should be doing to a woman. And at 10, it slipped in. And then I found out, and my mind I was
Oh,
not emotionally tied to that experience then because at 9, 10 years old, I had no business doing those type of things. So I was never tied to it. It was just a chase of getting it and then hitting it and leaving. And that was it, because I wasn't emotionally tied to it. I think once you get older and figure things out, and also the second part is dealing with that childhood trauma, now you start to realize the implications of what you're doing to people and how you're hurting them and how you're hurting yourself, because you're putting yourself out there like that, where you're out there just doing all sorts of things and just, you know, you're just out there just swinging. And that's not a good ending. So I think it's dealing with the childhood trauma and also maturing and realizing that you're hurting people, and that doesn't have any longevity when it comes to that though.
I think for me, more so, it was more so of the chase slash thrill of the chase, and then, in a sense, kind of what I'm saying, like, yo, let me see if I can get this or not. I think that type of high, if I could use that type of high or feeling is what filled a temporary void, so to speak. The chase, that thrill, that I'm gonna do all these things to get you, and then I get you, and they're like, okay, I got you. No, I'm good.
And that's the
Again,
thing.
though, listen, I just want to say this was back in the 20s now, all right? So, listen, a lot of things have happened since then, but yeah, like that, I think for me, that's genuinely what it was.
So I can give you a good example. Going to the Philippines, right? And I went over to the Philippines when I was 20, 21 years old. Every night, if I wanted to, I could have been with a different woman. Every night, two or three women a night. And it just gets to a
Bro,
point. It just gets to a point where you don't want to do that anymore. You
right.
really don't. And it was to the point where I was even thinking about just getting married, man, because I was just so tired of it. And some people say, "How can you get tired of it?" I was really tired. I was tired of emotionally. When it came to that aspect of my life, I was beat down, man. I didn't even realize it. When I look back on it now, it's because I was really just going back to a 9, 10 year old Mike and reliving that moment every time I was with someone. And it had no tie to it at all. No tie to emotions at all. It was just only the act of doing it. And like you said, once I did it, I was on to the next one. And that's just the way it was, because I think I had been mentally sabotaged at that age where I didn't have any emotional ties to when it came to sex, man. It was just that way. Fortunately, though, and at this age now, and even in my, got to my 40s, I realized though that emotionally that was a detriment to the relationship if I was not emotionally tied to it. Because if I wasn't, that would allow me to go out and do other things outside of the relationship because I wasn't totally committed to the lady that I was with. So thankfully, I was able to get a handle on that, and I also got some therapy for it, and I dealt with that. Because if I didn't deal with childhood Mike, I would never ever be able to get over it because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I'm bit for the longest. I thought just because I was a nice guy, I was okay to do that. No, I wasn't though. That was wrong.
Man, it's tough and it's hard to explain. Even when you explain that now to people that you, in a sense, kind of get into a relationship, you can kind of see like, oh man, are you over this, or are you gonna do this again? Or you go? The reason why we're able to talk about it now is because we have passed that stage, right? Like we can't be embarrassed about it because we did it, and it's not us in a sense, kind of being confident. It's not that. It's just more so of like because of that experience, I know where that road leads. And I know in order for me to want better or to do better, I have to change my thought process, how I move, etc. If I stay and I consistently do those same things, I'm going to always be in this eternal loop that I know that I can't break. And just what you said, it gets tiring. Like it just does. Like I remember me telling my homeboys back after my second deployment, and I was like, bro, like I got all these women, bro, like you know what I'm saying, like, and all my homeboys in the group chat is just like, bro, you living life, you doing this and you doing that. And at the same time, dude, it was depressing. It was challenging. Like my mentally, I just wasn't there. My emotionally, I wasn't involved. Like it was horrible. And like to say that to a group of guys, back when you're young, and we all the same age, they praise that and it seems like, bro, you live a life. I'm married. I got this and I got that. And it's just like, bro, you have no idea how tough this is. You have no idea how. But in a sense, obviously, I put it. I did it. I put myself in a situation, but at the same time, like it's easy to put yourself in that situation, and it's even harder to get out of it, especially if you don't have the mental fortitude to like, all right, something has to change. Something has to change. If not, two things is gonna happen, and I don't want them to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, man. Because until we effectively deal with what we're going through, we can never ever get out of it. And they don't realize though that we crave what they had as a family and being having one person. We just didn't
Exactly.
know how to
Yeah.
live that way though. We didn't know how to live that way.
Exactly.
And until we dealt with that, whether it was on a personal level or whether it was on getting some help for it, we were going to stay that way. And a lot of them are probably that way too, because how many times you seen people that were married, man, but you thought they were single as much as they hung out with the single guys. You know what I'm saying? They were out there with us just as much as we were in the streets and we were single. So they hadn't dealt with it, but they were just out there just causing harm to themselves and also to their spouse. Because they were out there in the streets just as hard as we were, and we were single, and they were out there more than we were. So it was wild because and then that's what I look back on though, man, is that do I want to be that person when I get married? No, I don't want to be that person. I want to be someone that when I leave the house or when I go on a deployment or when I go on vacation, if I go golfing somewhere on a golf trip or whatever, my lady knows that she's number one, whether I'm in her face or all the way across the country or across the water. That she knows that when I leave that house, I know that I'm a representation of she and I, and I'm gonna do right by her all the time. And I want her to know that. That's important to me.
Absolutely, I definitely agree with that. I think we beat that one up.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right. So the next one we want to talk about is a tough one. You know, I've been on both sides of this thing, man. Rebuilding
Oh
after
Lord.
infidelity. I really have. And I can just tell you up front, I'll just start off by saying that no form of infidelity is right, whether it's you or your partner doing it. We should be adult enough to say, you know what? I don't want to be in this anymore. Let's move on. But for some reason, we can't say that. We'd rather go out there and be sneaking around. I can tell you when in my first marriage, man, where as soon as I left the house, I had a place in my car where I dropped my ring so I wouldn't forget to get it when I got back home, put it back on my finger. I was out there. That's how bad I was. And I'm not saying that was right, but that's what I did at that age because I had not dealt with a lot of things that traumatized me in a way to make me think that that was okay to do that. So I just think it's just tough. So I'll let you jump in and I'll come in behind you and talk about it because this is a
Man, that
it's a good topic.
infidelity, man. Like, hey, same thing applies. Like, I've been on both sides of that, right? And from my own experiences, right, there's two parties: the unfaithful partner and the one who feels betrayed, in a sense. So, how I want to deep dive into that. Let's just start off with the unfaithful partner. So, the first things first, right, is taking responsibility for your actions. And we kind of said this on previous podcasts before, but you can genuinely tell the people who genuinely sorry and genuinely want to fix it versus the person who's saying they sorry and they really don't give a damn. They're like, oh well, yeah, I did it, my bad, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can kind of tell that. And just what we said earlier, it's up to what you can tolerate, what you won't tolerate, in a sense. Now, I'm not justifying cheating by any means. I'm not saying that. If you know for a fact if somebody cheat on you and you're done, by all means be done. Right? You have to be done. But if you one of them person that's like, look, I love my partner, and until death do us part, like, you have that religious ties to it. You make that promise for God. Like, there are just certain things in the sense that if you choose to forgive him or if you choose to forgive her, you have to do that. You can't consistently bring it up. Every time you get into an argument, you can't consistently bring it up every time things don't go your way, or you can't just be like, "Oh, I gave you another chance." Or if I see another girl and I'm looking a little bit too long, you're like, "Oh, you think about cheating on her again or cheating on me again with X, Y, and Z?" You just can't do that. So taking responsibility when it comes to that, genuinely saying how you feel and genuinely talk about what it is that went wrong. Hey, there's been a lot of times, again, not justifying the infidelity, not justifying it by any means, but you genuinely have to talk about what caused us to get here. It takes two people to have a relationship. You can't be in a relationship by yourself, even though a lot of people feel like they can. You can't be in a relationship by yourself. It takes two people for that. So even the person who, in a sense, felt betrayed, they still have some type of accountability to accept in that. Now, again, I know I'm gonna get a lot of discredit for that because they're like, oh no, I was the one who got hurt. There's no way. But again, I'm not justifying it, but there are just things that happen to that you have to take accountability in too, which is why you sit down and you talk about it. So, for an example, and I use this all the time, the biggest reason why most men go out and cheat, and I'm only speaking from experiences, okay? The biggest reason as to why most men go out and cheat, in a sense, is because sex become weaponized. Like, I don't know how else to explain that other than sex become weaponized. And what I mean when I say that is before you together in the sense, man, y'all doing it all the time, right? And then you get engaged, doing it all the time, and then you get married, and then life kind of happens. Now, again, life is going to happen regardless, but you kind of allow it to take control in X, Y, and Z. And I know what y'all saying. You like, hey, man, you a man, you can learn how to control your feelings, control. I got all that. But there comes a point to a time to where, like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I want a little bit. And you like, oh, no, I told you to take trash out. So because you take trash out, you're not getting none. Or I want a little bit. And you like, oh, no, I'm tired. I did X, Y, and Z, or I got to go do this. What they are valid. There are valid reasons, but if they keep coming up, and you made this promise that you was gonna please your husband or you're gonna please your wife, and these things keep occurring, eventually somebody's gonna step out. And the biggest one that I've in a sense felt is when it's weaponized or when it makes it feel like a reward. So before I continue, big bro, what you got?
So two things you brought up, and I'm gonna touch on them a little bit, and we'll go into it. The forgiving part. If you're in that situation and you're the one that did that was cheated on, and you decide to stay, it's a absolute must that you forgive and leave it where it's at. If you cannot do that, get out of the relationship and go on about your business, because it's not fair to the other person if you continually bring it up 2, 3, 4 years down the road, 5 years down the road about what happened, because you really haven't forgiven. You don't forget anything, but you just can't hold that thing over their head. You can't do that. So I think you just have to really, really focus on that and really make your mind on what you want to do and move on from it. Now, as far as the weaponizing, like I alluded to earlier, there is nothing that we should not be able to talk about, including smecks. We should be able to talk about smecks. We should be talking about that at the beginning of the relationship, so it's not an issue down the road. If we start out being like rabbits, we can't change them to be like elephants once a year. It just doesn't make sense. Well, I mean, you can't do that. And if that's you need to let that person know, look, I don't like it. I do it because I think it's what you want to do, but say that, because now that person can make an informed decision whether they want to be with you or not. But I think when you weaponize it, though, and if you weaponize, whether it's the man or the woman, because we do the same thing, whether it's the man or the woman, you're putting your partner in a position where they have to make a decision about whether they want to be with somebody else or not. And I know the first common thing that someone would say is that, why don't you just talk about it? If it was that easy, we would have talked about it before the things even happened anyway. You know what I'm saying? So you have to talk about those things up front, and it has to be open, honest communication. That way you prevent those negative things from coming into your relationship and causing a problem in your relationship. So I really like those two things to deal with that. You have to, if you're gonna forgive. If you don't, just move on. Get out of it, leave the person alone, and leave it at that. And then also not weaponizing it.
Yeah, and then obviously staying with the unfaithful partner, right? We talked about being completely transparent. Again, you got to talk. You look, you put yourself in a situation. You got to understand why, so that you know how to react to it, or you see the signs before it happened again. And even though a lot of time a lot of people don't want to talk about it, you have to sit down. You have to talk about it. You have to figure out what it is that caused X, Y, and Z. And then the last thing when it comes to the unfaithful partner, right, is just in a sense empathizing with your partner, like acknowledge and in a sense validate the devastation and the trauma that you put on your partner. Like, especially if your partner, in a sense, the one who felt betrayed, in a sense, was there for you from day one. They did this, they represented you right, they did this, they did that. Obviously, no one deserves to get cheated on, but you have to, in a sense, learn how to empathize with her or with him, in a sense, and kind of feel what they're feeling, so that you know, in a sense, what it feels like, how much it hurt your partner, and then obviously, just what we said earlier, communicate how we can move past that, and then obviously, what we said earlier again was, and not bring it up again when it comes to arguments, or when it comes to small little details. If you're gonna forgive that person, forgive that person. Bro, what you got?
Yeah. The topic is rebuilding after infidelity, right? So if you have infidelity in your relationship and you choose to stay together, two things you have to do. One, I think you should go get professional counseling, because you're not gonna be able to figure it out on your own most of the time. Two is you sit down together after outside of that counseling, and you have open, honest communications about trying to figure out what led up to that. Because a lot of times we can probably identify things that put us in a position to even be receptive of it. A lot of people will say, why don't you just talk to me about it? Because you or I haven't built it up where we can sit down and actually communicate about anything. So it's no way for me to talk to you about it. Because the first time, if I tell you that I think I may want to go out and be with somebody else, and I'm just trying to reach out and tell you that I don't want to do it, but I'm saying that's what I'm feeling right now. you're going to hear that I want to go and have sex with somebody. That's what you're going to hear. But I'm trying to come to you and tell you that, because we're not intimate enough, at times I think about, do I want to be with somebody else? And I'm just trying to talk to my partner to share it. So we have to be able to talk about it and move on from that and come to a conclusion about how things are going to be. Look, I'll be the first to admit, I know a woman's body is so much different than a man's body, where emotions and things like that get in the way and cause them not to want to do things sometimes. I get that 100%, and I'll be the first one to support that. But at the same time, you also have to reach across the aisle and realize that I'd have needs also, and I want that. So we have to compromise on what we want to do with that when it comes to the smecks. And it's not just about the smecks. I think the intimacy of the whole thing happens when you wake up in the morning until you come back to the house in the afternoon and when you go to bed at night. An example I'll give is that I've been talking about this the last few weeks, and I won't get into that on this conversation, but as far as what the man does for the woman to help alleviate some of the stresses that the woman goes through. Because if you have a lady that's going to work every day just like you, and then you expecting her to come home and cook and clean and wash and take care of the kids, do the homework and all that stuff, and then you sitting up watching TV, and then when it's time to go to bed, you ready to get some, she's tired. So the intimacy part comes into you helping out with all of those things, so you can sit down and eat dinner together. You can sit down and help the kids with homework together. And then you can go to the bedroom together. And now you're both equally on the same ground and you agree with that. So the healing part comes, like, I'm not getting away from that. The healing part comes from being able to talk about it and moving forward and agreeing on some boundaries that you're going to set to not go back to where you were, but also some things to help you when you get into a position where you think you may want to step out, that you talk about it and you can share it without any negativity coming from it.
Yeah, I like that. So staying along the topics, right? That's very important. Establishing new boundaries, because obviously the ones that we thought quote was implied wasn't as implied as we thought it was. So now that you've in a sense forgave that person and you willing to move forward and y'all seek counseling and you talk about those things, establishing new boundaries in a sense is vital to y'all being successful, especially when it comes to having small things that can kind of come up and then you feel like, oh, all this is happening to me. So if you have those new boundaries, you can say, hey, this looks like something that we should talk about. Let's discuss this. And then obviously, both of y'all on the same page, you understand the compromise. You understand like, hey, we got to sit down. Let's talk about this. All right. Hey, you didn't call me back during lunch. I'm not saying anything's happened. I just want to know, hey, what's going on? I'm concerned, etc. And then obviously allowing your partner in a sense to still have, even though this is going to hurt in a sense, but still having some type of privacy, because you don't want to be overbearing. You know how like iPhone users, like they all track each other when it's not meant to be tracked, like how iPhone users track them. They're just going to track every little detail, like where they go to make sure that if you got to do all that, bro, don't be with them. When it comes to establishing those new boundaries, in a sense, you have to give some form of privacy. And I get it. I know, like in the beginning, that's tough in a sense, but you don't want to be overpowering. You don't want to, in a sense, be like, oh, nah, I'm going to track your every move, because then that drains a lot of energy, especially when it comes to you, in a sense, truly being happy with your partner.
I'm not a big believer in tracking each other's location. And it's not because I'm hiding anything.
I'm not either.
I think that's just doing too
Me
much.
neither. It ain't nothing.
Hey,
It's too much.
and I like how
bro.
you
It's
I
too
like how
much.
you I like how you slid that I like how you slid that iPhone reference in there too. But on a serious note though, it's not necessary. That should not be necessary. And if we have to go to that extent, we probably shouldn't be together. Because I don't want to know your every little move. That's just for me, that's childish. And if I have someone that wants to know that, it's not that I probably wouldn't do it. It's not because I'm hiding anything, but we are still two individuals that's trying to build a life together. And we have individual lives. I'm not saying, so when I say that, I'm not talking about being individual where I'm out there in the streets. I'm talking about being an individual person where I go to work, you go to work, I go play golf, you read or do whatever you do, and you do that without me being involved in it. Or we do it together sometimes, but I'm not big on that whole tracking thing. I mean, recently a young lady at work had an accident, and she had a friend that it told her that her friend was in an accident. Now, if it's something like that where something happens and you get a
Right.
notification, yes, I'm okay with that. But as far as tracking my every little move, I stopped at the store here, I went by this house here, things like that. No, I'm not about that. because that just erodes the possibility to have true trust in a person. To me, that's just my opinion about it,
I'm glad we're on the same page.
though. And you know,
Glad we're on the same page.
and speaking about it, I think the beauty of rebuilding after infidelity, if you try to, is that you're going to really have a newfound understanding about what your relationship is. You're gonna hopefully you're gonna want to you're gonna be closer, and you're gonna lean on each other more to build a wall around your relationship where you don't allow those things to happen to you. You know, because that's the ultimate. You know, if after you've gotten married or been in a relationship with someone, and then you try to learn how to trust them and love them again, if you can do that, I would hope that both parties learn from it. Because, like you said earlier, there's always two people involved in a relationship, and a person that did not cheat may think that they didn't have anything to do with it. But I bet if you go back and look at what happened leading up to it, there were things that your partner, whether it's the male or the female, because I'm not saying it's male or females, it's all parties involved. You'll go back and find that there are things that you could have done differently to be there to support your partner and let them know you were there for them. And it's not all about the smecks. It's not. I'm telling you, for me, emotionally, it's not about the smecks. It's about the trust, the comfort, the peace that I get coming into my household, that I feel like we are together. That's what it's all about to me. And if any of those things are broken down where I don't feel that way, I lose hope. And I hope that I'm with someone that I can share my opinion with what I'm going through. That way, I don't get hopeless. Because if you lose hope, that's one thing. But to react on that loss of hope is a totally different ball game, where you are now open, not seeking, but open to it. You go to work and you look down and you see the little cutie walk around and say, "Oh, hey, how you doing today? You all right?" I'm like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" There you go. The door is open. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
My last thing that I want to add to that, in a sense, is when you recover, right, and you going through everything that you doing everything that you're supposed to have done, things are you having a positive outlook, things are on the right track. Be careful of what it is that you're receiving advice from, especially when it comes to people that you've told previous when you was in the negative state that you was in. Now, I'm not saying it's not valid, but you just got to be careful. You like, because a lot of people, once you tell them that, they don't forgive them like how you forgive them. So be careful about what it is that you're getting advice from. Most of us, right, we want to talk to our parents, our sisters, slash our best friends, etc. But when you was going through it, you leaned on them a lot, and you subconsciously, in a sense, kind of. I'm not gonna say you talked bad about your partner, but you talked bad about your partner because you crying, you talking about how he or she cheated on you, what you did wrong, and all those. And at the same time, the people who you relied on, they comforting you. They trying to be understanding. They emphasizing. They want you to see like, hey, look, it's not you. You did nothing wrong. Blah blah blah. It's him or it's her. That's something they got to deal with. In a sense, moving forward, now that you forgave your partner, those family members, those best friends, those etc., they probably still haven't forgave them. So be careful about that advice that you are getting when it comes to your relationship slash marriage to the people that you kind of confided in a negative setting.
No, I really like that. I'm glad you said that, because the one thing that people don't think about when they're sharing with others about what they're going through in a relationship is that the person you're sharing it with, they could never, ever, ever, ever be emotionally tied to your partner like you are. So they're going to look at it in a different light framework than you're looking at it. So I have a guy that's my best friend. He's like a brother to me. I was talk to him
I'm sorry.
about anything. But
Who's
I say that what? What?
who's this best friend of yours? I'm just playing. Go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, hey, you my little brother, but this is like my brother from another mother that I've known for 45 years. That I could talk to him
Okay,
about
that's valid.
anything, and this is the deal. There's nothing I talk to him about until I'm ready to really act on that. I don't talk to him about things that maybes. I don't talk to him about things that's just like everyday going through with my spouse, because it's not his business. It's not his business, and he's not going to look at it through the same lens that I look at it. And like you said, though, when you come out of that, most of the time, those type of people are always going to be on your side. It's going to be very rare times where you tell someone something about something that happened in a relationship and they side with the other person. I mean, truthfully, side with the other person and don't and get on you about doing what you're doing. I believe that you have to be those type of people. You have to have a accountability to one another, but it's rare though because when you come out of it, say for instance, you said, you know what, I want to forgive my spouse and move forward, or my girlfriend, or whatever, my boyfriend, or whatever it is. And then they can say, what? I would never do that. And once again, they're not looking through the same lens that you're looking at it. They're looking at what they're applying their knowledge to it. You don't know what kind of childhood trauma they suffer. You don't know what kind of hurt they're going through and what their mindset is. All they're saying is that I would never ever do it. I would say the best thing if you want to talk to someone is go see a counselor that's non-biased and not connected to you in any type of way other than trying to help you deal with the situation you're going through. And I'm not saying you can't talk to family and friends. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying though that you have to be very careful about what you're sharing with them about your partner because that's gonna be the same part they can say that dude or that young lady ain't no good. They whatever. And now you got to hear that. And that stuff is going to cloud your mind, your judgment about what you should be doing. And you may have maybe reconciled with it, but they would never reconcile with it. And 10 years from now, you just know that old low down so and so, she or he is going to do the same thing again. I don't know why you're still with them now.
Mhm.
And you didn't have to tell them that. You brought them into that. So I really truly believe that you have to be careful about who you're sharing with because how many times have you heard that your best friend, male or female, they've ended up being with your partner, with the other person's partner? Too many times to count. So just be careful. Anything else on that?
Man, I think we beat that one up too.
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one because the trust and all those things have been broken and it's hard. You got to really be committed to going forward with it. So that's all I say about that is that if you're going to rebuild from, you have to be committed to moving forward and going forward with it though. Truly, 100%. You can't be halfway. All right. The last one we're going to talk about is what men will not tolerate to achieve happiness. I know this is one that's near. I'm gonna let you jump off with it, and I'll jump in.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with one and then I'll let you go in.
All right.
But when it comes to the compromising of what men will and won't when it comes to the happiness, like you just got to understand that men we are emotional, but we're not as emotional. We don't lead with emotions as women do in a sense. And because of that, which is, I'm not saying that we are better at it when it comes to the protective mechanism or when it comes to the protection mode, but because of it, we are more prevalent to make harder and tougher decisions for our family. Now, a lot of times, I'm not speaking on the behalf of all people. I'm just saying, just bear with me. But a lot of times, there are men who stay in relationships even though they're not happy because they want their family to stay together. And in the men's community, Lord help me. When we talk about what it is that we're going through, men, in a sense, we give hope to each other. We give a sense of security and a sense of, bro, you can get through this. And what I mean when I say that is when there are a group of men who are sitting down and we are discussing our problems and we genuinely don't know how to, in a sense, come out of it, but we know that we are unhappy. We get advice from people who, in a sense, are in these marriage situations or in these relationships who understands what it is that we're going through. So what that looks like is like, hey, we're not going to jeopardize our happiness to break up our family. We're not going to jeopardize our happiness to see our kids grow up with one parent. Now, I'm not saying this on the behalf of all women. I'm not saying that. But if we're being honest and we're being adults, the biggest theme is in the sense of, girl, if you're not happy, get out of that situation. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm not saying that. I am not saying that. I am not saying that's right or wrong. What I am saying is, me, in a sense, our thought process isn't, we don't immediately go to that. We don't immediately, I'm not happy here, I'm leaving, I'm filing for the divorce, etc. Again, I'm not saying one party is right or wrong over the other one. I'm not saying that. But when it comes to us being happy in a sense, we would rather our kids, our spouse, our significant other to be happy and prosperous, and because we just built different in a sense. Like obviously we want to be happy. Obviously we're going to get there to a point, but there's just certain things that we just won't do at the expense of our own happiness. Big bro, what you got?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to it, it depends on what the layers are. You know, when you come, especially what you're just talking about, as far as so, for instance, if we talk about infidelity, I think that's tough for a man to say if the woman isn't willing
Oh
to
yeah,
seek counseling and get better at it. So yes, we want everybody to be happy, but at the same time, ain't nobody gonna be
absolutely.
happy in the household because I'm not happy. You know, I have to got to stay with this
Right.
woman that did this to me, or vice versa. You know, if it's men. So I think it's just for me. You know, it's two stages for me. To be honest with you, legendary. It's the younger Mike, and it's the older Mike now. Before I didn't have any patience for dealing with a lot of stuff when it came to relationships because I would automatically because of the things I had seen growing up. I just thought it was okay for me to go out and be with somebody else if I wasn't happy here. Not get out of it, but go and be with somebody else. You know what I mean? Because of the examples that I
Yeah.
saw. And what I've realized over the years is that just because I experienced something as a kid, as a young man, doesn't give me the right to respond the same way that they did back then, though, because I have my mind to use my mind and respond the way I'm gonna respond now. You know, so now I have a lot more patience and also a lot more active communication to let someone know how I'm feeling about it. That way, I can try to stay happy and make sure that that person knows where I'm coming from also. And then if we can't get to a medium, then we'll have to have a discussion about what we're going to do from here. You know, so it's just two separate things for me. Younger, no patience at all. I didn't. I cared all I cared about was my happiness. It wasn't about anybody else but me for the most part. I like people, I did for people, but it was still at the end of the day I had to be happy. Now, yes, that's important to me, but it's also important to me that I be able to speak freely and have peace in my home, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Another one I'm gonna hit on is we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, but how you represent each other when you go out in public. And a lot of times, men nowadays we kind of get titled controlling in a sense. And me personally, there are levels to being quote unquote controlling. But for an example, let's just say that my lady, my significant other, whatever, she puts on clothing, and I know that a spot that we're going to is just gonna cause too much X, Y, and Z. Now you can go about that two ways. You can kind of, what I'm saying, keep that inside and just allow things to kind of play out and see if it happens or not. Or you can say, hey, sweetheart, I like this, but I don't like that you have this on because of where we're going. It's not going to represent me or you properly. Go ahead and change that. Now, when you say that, you get labeled controlling, especially from some women in a sense who feels like, oh no, I can just be comfortable in my own skin, not knowing that we are protecting you because we know how men think, we know how men are, we know how men in a sense see a woman who's dressed a specific way without women in a sense knowing. You're kind of telling men what it is that you're willing to give, or what you're portraying when you might not in a sense be portraying that way, and how you dress and how you present yourself out in public, especially with your partner, says a lot. Now there's gonna be a lot of people on the opposite side that's like, nah, bro, like this is my woman, she can wear whatever she wants to, she comfortable, etc. I'm cool with it, and that's okay. Me personally, if we go into a place to where I know it's gonna cause trouble, and it's not to say like, I'm controlling or I don't appreciate what she got on or she's wearing it for me. It's not that. It's just the problems that's going to occur because of that. I want to enjoy myself, but I don't want to be, X, Y, and Z. What's happening? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this is the for me this is the deal right here. When you meet someone, normally they're dressing the way they're probably gonna dress while you're married. And if we have a problem with it, or even if they have a problem with me, we need to say that up front. We can't say, you know what, I'll overlook it for right now. And then once we get into the serious part of the relationship, now we start talking about that. I really think that we have to really focus on dealing with that up front. Because you're right, and I don't think it's a controlling thing. You know and I know that if you have a lady that has a tight shirt on and some tight pants or a tight dress or skirt or whatever, everybody's looking. Everybody's gonna look. So if we as men have a problem with that, we need to talk about that up front. We can't say, "Oh, I'll let that slide for now and deal with it later." No, because that woman or the man, because it can go both ways, they need to know about that up front. That way, they can make an informed decision about whether they want to go forward with you. It's gonna happen, but those things have to be discussed in open, honest communication at the beginning of the relationship. You can't get a year down the road or 2 years down the road and want to change someone up. You know what I mean? So I do agree though that, like you said, if you're gonna go places, there are gonna be people that's gonna be looking. But if I've been okay with it when I met the person, I gotta be okay with it now. Because I think the part is that I know what my lady, how she's gonna respond to that kind of attention, so I don't let that bother me. Now, if she's one that's gonna be up in a lot of guys' face and talking to them and all that stuff all the time, now it's making me uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Why? Why is it that way? Because I get it. I want you to dress the way you want to dress also. But don't get the perception that you're available though. Don't disrespect me like that. Because I wouldn't do it to you. I wouldn't go out there in the streets. Like the phenomenon about the gray sweatpants, bro, it baffles me. Because whether I wear gray sweatpants, black sweatpants, red sweatpants, or whatever, people have an imagination no matter what color sweatpants I have on. And the same thing is in those gray ones that is in the red, black, and the white or whatever. So that should not be an issue. Just like when you're a lady just go out, it's the same thing. Whether you have a nice dress, business suit, or whatever on, they know what a wagon looks like. Not her experience, but they know what a wagon looks like. They know what the breasts look like. So they know that. So we have to get out of that part of it. And then if we're not comfortable with it, we have to say it up front though. We can't wait till we get halfway down the road and start talking about it. Then it has to be talked about up front. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, like the last thing I'm gonna talk about when it comes to that is staying together for the kids, right? Now, I don't want to say that I'm contradicting what I said earlier. This is not the case, but more so of I don't feel like, in a sense, that you should stay with someone because they have kids, unless, of course, in a sense, that she was married prior to that happening. And what I mean by that is, I don't think that you should marry someone because they have your kids if you not truly happy with each other or truly trying to build something towards each other. And I know a lot of times from speaking to a lot of guys, you know, they put themselves in this predicament in a sense, and now they have to suffer. I don't want to say suffer the consequences, but they have to suffer the consequences of what it is that they went through. And with that being said, a lot of them feels obligated to stay with their person because oh, they got a kid by them, or now they're gonna have child support. Or now they had a kid by them, and now I have to stay with this person. I have to do X, Y, and Z with this person because of that. And from my own experiences, from talking to other men in a sense, that's the most miserable thing that a man can do is stay with someone who they don't love and try to thick it out because of the kids. What's your take on that?
So right off the bat, I think the best example is for kids is being happy, whether that's with the person or you're not with the person. I don't think. I mean, people do it, and I get that, but children are very, very perceptive about what parents are going through. Period. We can say whatever we want to say about, we in front of them, we act this way, we act that way. Kids are very perceptive about watching our movements and what we're doing. So if you're just staying for the kids, is that a good representation for that child to see? That's the first thing you have to think about. And if you're going to stay together for the kids, you have to be 100% in. If you're not 100% in to stay together, then why are you staying together? Because you're going to do things, you're going to be out there in the streets doing things you shouldn't be doing. And now that's another negative representation of what a family should look like for your children. So if you're going to stay, you have to be 100% committed to staying. That's the first thing. If you're not, then you need to get out of it. And if you are going to do it, then you need to go get counseling. I don't care what no one says. We have a hard time, we meaning we have a hard time with going to counseling sometimes as a whole. There's nothing negative about doing that, especially if you're going to stay after things have happened. So this topic started out by making men happy. I think one of the things that we really have to focus on is what we can and cannot tolerate, and that should be expressed to your partner. What you can and cannot tolerate, because it matters. It really does matter, and going forward in a relationship. So I don't. So to tie the two together, I would not be able to tolerate a relationship where someone is just in it for the kids. I couldn't do that because now we can't enjoy the fruits of our labor as far as being able to be together, having fun together, being each other's best friend, and doing things together. I just wouldn't be able to do that because why are we doing this? I'd rather show my kids that you know what? I tried my best. I went to counseling. We did all these things. And at the end of the day, I made the best decision for my peace and my mindset to be a happy person. That doesn't mean that I don't love you. That doesn't mean that I don't care about your mom because she is the mother of my children. But that also means that I was adult enough to say, you know what? I can't do this because it's not going to work out well, and I move on from it. Do I think people should get a divorce? No. But people should get a divorce if they cannot be together and be a whole unit together. They should.
Stay on that topic, right? Like once you husband and wife, bro, you're one. The kids come second, and a lot of times people don't understand that mentality. Like, oh no, my kids come before my significant other. That especially if you have a religious background, you understand that the husband and wife is one. So how can the kids who which you produce afterwards come before your significant other? So if that's the case, and you don't truly feel that way, but you want to think it out because you have a kid, where the foundation that you're building is already wrong, and it's hard for some people to kind of process that because they like, oh nah, you got me pregnant, or nah, you made this kid, or nah, you gonna X, Y, and Z for that. So a lot of men in a sense feel obligated because of that. But when you husband and wife, no one comes before your significant other, not even the kids. And if you have that mentality, say, "Oh no, my kids is gonna eat before my significant other, etc." And I already know where we're going with
Look, there is no way a marriage is going to survive if one parent or the other is better friends with the kid than they are with their spouse or their partner. It just won't work because if you're giving all, I'm not, and see, don't take all as just the kids. All I mean, you're doing everything with the kid, and your spouse is left on their own to figure it out. They're going to get it from somewhere else if you're not taking care of that part for them. It's not it's not that they want to, but you're together because you want to be together. You know, like you said, I like how you said it that you were with your spouse before the kids came along. And when no kids leave and go off and live their lives, hopefully you're going to still be with your spouse. Because when they leave and you start looking around, y'all don't have nothing in common. Now what? You would end up being that 20, 25-year person that's getting a divorce because you grew apart and you did not fertilize and cultivate and grow your relationship throughout the changes. Because we all going to change. You know, at this age, I can really talk about it now because I'm here now. Is that who I was in my 20s and 30s? I'm a totally different person. And even if I was in a relation, if I was in a marriage, I would still change. So we have to be ready for those different changes to make sure that we are moving together and changing together. And like you said, you are one. Whether you believe in my God or not, you are one as a couple because that's why you come together to be as one. I don't care what you believe in. Yes, you do it. No, you don't. You are supposed to be one on one accord, trying to make things work together. And that even includes how you raise your children, how you discipline your children, how you interact with your children, how much information you tell your children about your relationship. And all of that is included in, as being as one.
I like that. Well, big bro, I think that's all for me on that topic.
That's it. You know, so we talked about tonight, we talked about setting and maintaining boundaries, rebuilding after infidelity, and also the last one, what men will and will not tolerate for happiness. And I think that, you know, if any of you have any questions about any of that stuff, please put them in the chat. Lee and I, they will gather the questions for us, and then we will answer questions. This is what this time is for now. Or you can ask questions that are not pertaining to the topic we talked about tonight, because this is all educational. Myself and Legendary, we're not counselors per se, but we are experts on living life. You know, we've lived life for a little while, and what we try to do is come on here and share our personal experiences as well as the experiences that we watch other people go through. You know, I've had people tell me that since you're married or since you've been married twice, you can't tell me nothing. Oh my goodness, you just don't know how much I can tell you by because of I can try to help you avoid some of the same mistakes I made because I am a twice divorced person. You know what I mean? So just think about all the different people that went through life experiences that give you information that can help you out, that they've never done it or they haven't been successful at it. People that have been financially unsuccessful and now they're successful, that's because they learned lessons that could help you out. So that's what we try to do is we come on here to try to share our personal experiences to help you out because we really both believe in, and I'll let him talk on this, but we really both believe in just helping people. We believe in being able to be genuine with people and helping people get through things and also make it more normalized for us to seek help when we need to seek help.
I like that. I like that. But I'm gonna switch it real quick. So it's so funny. My kid, she sent me something, right? And she was like, "Dad, buy this book." Right? She in a sense wanted to buy it for me, but in a way, she was like, "Dad, just buy the book." The book was something that she sent me on TikTok, and it said, "Dad, tell your story." That's the title of the book. I don't know if some of y'all saw it on TikTok or not, but essentially what it is when you grow up in households that single parent households, and regardless if you go and visit the other one, or regardless if somebody is not around or somebody's a deadbeat or whatever you want to call it, there's a book in there that asks specific questions for the kids that allows the dad to kind of give his story of everything that happens. And so it starts off in a sense of like the things that I like, the things that I dislike, my favorite foods, colors, and it gradually kind of increase with the intensity of when it comes to the emotional side of things that happens or your own perspective. And what really kind of got me concerned was the question said, "Why didn't you and my mom make it?" And in parentheses, it said, "Only give the father's perception. Don't mention anything to do with the mom." And I'm like, "Oh shit. How do I?" And I thought that was really unique because as I started typing, started thinking about what it is that I'm gonna put once this book get here, all these emotions and all these things in a sense kind of flooded in and got me thinking. I don't know my dad. And if I had a book like this to kind of understand his side of the story, not what I'm saying, not freaking what's the word? I'm justifying anything that he did on his end or negating it, but just to hear his side of the story versus the story that I got from my mom, because now that I'm older, I know there's always two sides to a story. And I just thought that was pretty neat.
I think my daughter bought me that same book. Is it like a blue and gray book? It's
The one I
something.
saw it's brown. It's got like a
Okay.
leather brown thing.
She all right. She bought me something. I have to give my history and mother, dad, all that stuff like that. So it's something similar to that.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's interesting, man, because it said only give your perspective. Don't worry about mom.
Only your own perception. Yeah, nothing. You can't
That's
say
good.
nothing about mom, and it's only your perception of what
I think
happened.
that's
And I
really
thought that was
good for
pretty
what's
neat.
going on. Oh yeah, that's nice. I like that. I like that. So, are there any questions that anybody have anything they want to ask us? And it don't, like I said, it doesn't have to be about what we talked about tonight. If you have the question, put it in the chat. We'll try to answer it to the best of our ability. Share with you all. Thank you all for coming through as always. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us on a
As
Saturday night.
always.
We know you could be doing so many other things, but you come by here and hang out with us for a little bit to listen to two guys talk about things that are very passionate to us. We really truly enjoy this time. We enjoy sharing, pieces of ourselves. We don't share everything, but we do enjoy sharing some of the things in our personal experiences. And we are, for the most part, we're totally transparent about what we've gone through and what we're going through. You know.
Big bro, you got any questions for me while you wait? Your questions always
Yes.
interesting for some reason.
Yes, sir. I do have a question for you.
Oh Lord, I gotta stop asking you this. What you got?
So, so I think you've heard me ask this question, and I don't think I asked it to you last week, but I've been asking it a lot. What I want to do, I want us to one day, I want us to do a men's panel because when I went to that on that Atlanta trip, I think I told you I had a lot of time to think because I was just a passenger, and I was thinking about what we do for women, man. We don't do enough for women and what they go through on a day-to-day basis. And I think we have to get better. So the question I've been asking the ladies, and I'm gonna finally put the numbers together and put it out there when we have a men's panel though, is when is the last time when is the last time you cooked for a lady and didn't have no expectations in return for cooking for her? And it could be okay, I'll say it like this. It can be for your mother, it could be for your children, it could be for that special person. So when is that?
The last time that I cooked for a lady, I mean, my last time Jen was for my kid, but
Recently?
you know, yeah, that's the most recent one.
Yeah. What about for a friend girl that you didn't have no sexual interest in, and you just you know what, I want to show you appreciation for being the person you are. I know you're going through some things right now. When is the last time you done something like that?
I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah, and,
Not
and that's
without
my
it
point.
having any, not without it having any type of quote unquote ties. You know what I mean? Only
Expectations on
because,
the end of it.
yeah. And again, I'm not saying that there should have been expectations, but that's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm being honest, from my point of view, wouldn't be like, oh, I got this homegirl. Hey, let me cook for you. If that makes sense. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like once
it
once
does.
that start once that start to occur, I think I'm a little bit more than just we just friends at that point. Cause and I get it. Women, y'all can do that. Y'all can just cook and be like, huh, eat this is good. But when men do that, you got to understand where it is that we coming from because most of us in a sense, yeah, we cook, but we don't cook. So if we cook for you, it's something. You know what I'm saying? Like men wouldn't just. I'm not gonna speak on behalf of men. Me, I wouldn't just cook just to cook. I would because I like to eat all pause. But I'm just saying, if we ever
Right.
get into that place to where I'm cooking for you, just so we can have a meal in a sense, yeah, it's a little bit more than that.
Hey,
But I see what you're saying.
I appreciate the open honesty because it's the truth. And most if not all men haven't done that. And that's why I said we have to get better for the ladies. Because like I gave the example earlier about the lady, you and your lady may go out and go to work together, go to separate jobs, come home, and once you get home, the responsibilities are heavy with the lady, and the man is chilling, watching TV or doing whatever he's doing. The mom may be, or the lady may be taking care of the homework with the kids, trying to put a meal together, those type of things. And then our selfish behinds, hey baby, hey, what we doing tonight? Man, I am tired as hell. We ain't doing shit. You gotta go to sleep.
See, respectfully, I'd be like, hey man, hey, these kids sleep. Let's go to Waffle House. I was like, hey, man, hey, I go to beat up, get some wings. You know what I'm saying? I go to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
that's me. When it comes to the spontaneous portion of when it's time to eat of that nature, like I'm more so. I don't. Those of you who know me in real life, like this is gonna come off kind of bad, but it works for me. I don't plan nothing. Me planning stuff for my whole life. Every time I've planned something, it never went according to plan, so I stopped doing it. And saying that out loud, I understand. What do you mean you don't plan that? You're not romantic, you're not this, you're not that. And it's not that I'm not those things. It's just I'm a doer of the moment. And what I mean by that is, if I see something or I think of something, I'm gonna do it. There's not gonna be no quote unquote thought process or X, Y, and Z. Only because I am a positive person, and if I feel like you deserve X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna do that. Even when it comes to me coming to see you, if we're in a long distance relationship, even if it's me sending you money for lunch, even if it's me to, hey, let's just go to I don't know Wingstop or something like things of that nature. When it comes to like, hey, let's go plan a trip and do all this overseas and etc. I'm not saying in the sense don't do that. I'm just saying for me, I wouldn't plan it because it never goes according to plan. So if I see something, I just say I see something and it say Jamaica freaking this amount off military X, Y, and Z by now. I'm like, oh shit, I can do that. I'm gonna purchase it. And then you know what I'm saying, the ball get rolling. But for me to be like, oh, I'm gonna wait for this to occur. Oh, I'm gonna wait until the sun is right on this angle or when the moon come out. I'm not planning that shit.
So let me ask you a question then. Are you saying that? What? Okay, let me ask like this. What do you do for birthdays and anniversaries in a relationship? Do you plan on
Hey,
doing stuff for them, or you wait to that day and you just be spontaneous?
it depends. It depends. So for me, I don't care about my birthday. My birthday is another day. The holidays and stuff like that. For those of you who don't know, me personally, I don't care about them. I know, but they're just another day for me. But if I'm in a relationship and I know that my partner enjoys those things, then I'm gonna go above and beyond. Only because I know that they enjoy it. It brings me peace and happiness to see them like, oh my God, you should have did this and blah 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 blah. That what makes me feel good. But me personally, if it was just me, oh shit, that'd be another day. They just regular days.
Let me tell you something. I found out when I got a divorce. I'm big on cards. I give cards, not only the words, but I put words. You know, if that whole left side of the card is blank, I'm gonna fill up with my words about you to my lady. I was told that the cards never meant anything to them. Man, you know how bad that hurt after 19
I
years?
know. That's tough.
I mean,
That's
why didn't
tough.
you just tell me that? You know, because I put, now they
It's
said the
people who
word,
don't really do.
and I thought, I thought it meant something. And I'm not saying that even going out and getting a car, how many men, I go out and get cars? Let me tell you what I did. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm gonna tell you why it hurt. Because I put in anniversaries, whatever it said to traditional wise and things like that, I did all those things. I made a conscious effort. If it was cotton, wood, gold, silver, or whatever, I did those things, and it wasn't just a piece. It was thought out. So to hear that the cards, they did say the letters matter, right? But the cards didn't. I don't like cards. What? After all that time, I mean, I was making sure that for me, that's me trying to, and I know it may not be this love language thing mess people up, man. Because okay, I get it, it's not your love language, but you have a man that's going out of his way to make sure on that day that you're special. And you say they didn't really mean anything? Okay. I mean, you have to go with that, right? And
That's
that's what I
tough.
say about being open and honest. If I say for instance, we just met, and I gave you a card, hey, I appreciate you. I left it in your car. You got in the car on your way, get ready to go to work, and you found the car, leave it out the driveway. I need you to come home and tell me that day, look here, I appreciate the card, but I don't do cards. Don't wait 20 years down the road to tell me about the cards.
Thanks.
So anyway, I don't know. I think
Well,
people
that's
they
tough, man.
miss they missed the mark because they spend too much time about things like that other than looking at the effort that the person is doing to try to show you that you're on a pedestal. You know what I mean? So that's why I
I
ask you
mean,
about birthdays and stuff. Go ahead.
no, I mean that's definitely reasonable. This is why, like straight up, like I'm like, look, man, I don't care about holidays and stuff like that. And like I know to people who genuinely care about that, they be like, oh my god, what? They're devastated. But it's just I'm only like that when it's just me. When it's just me and I ain't got nobody to worry about, etc. But I don't care about my birthday. I don't care about holidays and stuff. Those are just other days, and it kind of pissed me off because everything closed. On the flip side of that, though, if I was in a relationship and I knew that you genuinely enjoyed the holidays or you enjoyed that, I'm gonna be present. I'm gonna be there with you. Look. I'm gonna be just as happy as you are. I promise you, I am. It's not me faking that. It's not that. It's just it's my personality. I enjoy. I'm a pleaser in a sense, so I enjoy the aftermath of me doing stuff that I know that you're genuinely going to receive in that manner. Me personally, oh shit, I don't give a damn. That's just me though. I
But
it
but
don't.
do you
It's
tell it?
another day.
Do you tell a person up front though? Like, hey, I don't want nothing for my birthday. Don't do nothing for me on Christmas and things like
Oh
that.
yeah, I always say that. I
Huh?
always say that. I
But
always
look
say
at
that.
so let's paint this picture then. Say for instance, it's you and everybody get together, and she doesn't get you anything because you've made that known to her, and that's what y'all go by. Everybody in the room getting gifts and everything self-assigned. How does
That's
that
fine.
look? Not, but the people in the room don't know that. Your family and your friends. So what is that?
Everybody who knows me, everybody who knows me know that. Know how I am.
That's
Everybody who
fair.
knows me knows. When
That's
it
fair.
comes to Christmas, when it comes to Thanksgiving, all those now I'm an eater now. I'm an eater now when it comes to Thanksgiving. As long as I got some banana pudding, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But like
Well,
when it comes to Christmas and when it comes to like fireworks and Fourth of July or New Year's and all that, look, you know, that's all. That's that. I think me personally, I would rather get all those things for my kids and for my significant other, my person. It wouldn't be just for me. And I would, if my kids wanted me to indulge in like fireworks and all that, then yeah, you know, I'll do all that. But just to say like, oh, it's my birthday, I'm gonna go do X, Y, and Z. That's not me at all.
that's interesting.
And when it comes to Halloween, remember how I was raised. For those of you who don't know, I was raised in a Southern Baptist church, right? My mom, to this day, full blown Christian, however you want to twist and turn it. Halloween wasn't allowed in or around our house nowhere. So when you see kids going out to trick or treat and all that on the outside, you know, my mom's like, "Oh no, that's you know, Bobby Boucher, mama. That's the no, that's how mama was." Just like, oh, so I never celebrated Halloween. My kids, in a sense, they wanted to do that. I didn't want to take that from them because I knew what it felt like to be outside watching these little kids X, Y, and Z and doing all those things. But me personally, it just it didn't occur. So now I don't matter. But for my kids to want to do it, I didn't take that from them. I let them go trick or treat and be all they can be.
Right. So let me ask you a question, man. What could a and I know you don't like giving out the playbook, so this is just a small piece of it. What could a woman do to show you that she appreciates you? Literally.
Man, this is gonna sound so sexual, but it's not. Like allowing me to express my love language towards you is the best thing that a woman can give me when it comes to me just for nothing being happy. If that makes sense. Now, I'm
Say
not
it.
saying for her, you know, to get, huh?
I should say that again.
So the what a woman can do to me, or if I'm in a relationship like that, right? The best thing that can occur is to allow me to express my love language. So physical touch is my love language. If you allow me to express myself through touch, not sexual, but just throughout the day, hold your hand, hold your thigh, all those things is is what I in a sense gravitate to because it makes it feel like you want this just as much as I do. And because I'm not as vocal, I'm vocal. I'm not as vocal as I am when it comes to touch. I think I just receive that for me personally, I receive that differently than most people. If you allow me to express myself in that nature. Now I'm not saying that I don't appreciate you making a lunch for me or you doing specific things for me, but I mean in the sense of if a woman do nothing but allow me to express my love language, I'll be the happiest person. That's just how I am.
That's interesting to me.
Okay, the gear. Hey, let's dive into it. We can dive into it. But
No,
see,
no,
here's the
because
kicker to that.
yeah.
Wait. Here's the kicker to that, though. The only way that I am going to be in that situation is if I am emotionally tied to that. Like something in me craves you in that nature. Like obviously, Smex is Smex. Like you said earlier, like we alluded to earlier, we can have sex and not have any type of emotional attachment. The young of us, obviously, but it's different when you're doing it because you got this type of emotional attachment, these feelings, everything's involved versus you just doing it just to do it. Now, that's not what I mean. Meaning, it's received and reciprocated the same exact way. Because my love language, 1,000% is physical touch. And I know, like, people like, oh, you just want to just smash. Well, I'm a guy. You know what I'm saying? You're not wrong, but the build up to that is what, you know, is my grounding.
Okay. Do you think that your upbringing and also where you are now, because you can have basically, you can go out and buy anything you want to buy. Do you think that that
Yeah.
shapes your mentality about receiving things from someone, or that's just you as a person where you could care less if somebody buys you something or not?
You know, Growing up, man, it wasn't a lot of emotional attachment in my household. Now, I'm not saying that my mom and my brother and sister didn't love me. I'm not saying that, but my mom worked 2 jobs, almost
Yeah.
3 jobs. So she was never really around like that. My oldest sister is like 14, 15 years older than me. So, like, when I really started to come to, she was getting ready to go to college and go X, Y, and Z. And then my older brother, in a sense, he my brother, but he was out there in the streets. So essentially, it's just me. I didn't have a dad. I didn't have that man figure in a sense to kind of ground me and kind of get me to where it is that I felt like I needed to be in that moment. Now, though, I know I'm not saying that has any ties to it, but I know when it comes to anything to make me happy with my person, I know that physical touch needs to be involved somewhere. And again, it's not just sexual. It's me holding hands, or it's me holding your thigh while we drive. It's me holding your waist while we walk. Those things. You land on me while we're watching the movie, and I don't know, I'm playing in your hair or something. Like I'm soft when it comes to that, and I receive that differently than most people.
So I'm curious, where at what point when you meet someone, I know it's not a magic number, 1 month, 2 months. I'm talking, how does it convert over to being knowing someone to you being that person and that person being that towards you in a relationship? Where's it bound the timeline at where you get
Well,
to be that person?
so all right. So you know how I am with timelines. A lot of
Mm.
people don't agree with this, but I don't believe in timelines. I think timelines only occur to people who want to protect themselves, etc. Because the natural flow of things, it needs to be natural. You can't say, "Oh, I don't feel like I'm going to have sex with you until 90 days or until 120 days." That's unrealistic. Now, most people will be like, "Hey, it's a religious belief," or "Hey, I'm gonna hold myself." That's completely fine. But what you're doing is you're going against the natural laws of attraction. Is what you're doing, and you're doing it to protect yourself, regardless of how you feel about it. Just what it is. You putting your own boundaries in place to protect you. I just want to see if he gonna make the cut, etc. Now, with that being said, there's really no time limit. Now, I'm not saying I'm just going out there and I'm just touching people and I'm just getting that. Remember, there needs to be some type of emotional connection. It has to be an emotional connection with it. Now, I'll tell you this. Now, there's someone that I have talked to. Now, again, those of you who are trying to figure out the timelines, don't figure out the timelines. But it's someone who I talked to, and I wasn't nervous or anything. But we sat down, we had lunch or dinner or whatever, and she had just got off work. I had just drove down there, and we met up for the first time. And we was talking, and we was sitting down at the dinner table. And as soon as she touched my thigh, like she put her hand on my thigh, everything just went calm. Like everything went calm, and then I grabbed her hand, and then I held her hand for the rest of the dinner. Now, again, like that was the first time we ever met up. Now, again, I'm not saying that occurs every time in a sense, but I just don't think that there's a timeline when it comes to how you are or how you reciprocate and receive your quote unquote love language. I also know on the back end of that, there's been plenty of people who I'm like, man, I don't really give a damn. Or I'm just doing it just to do it in a sense. Now that I'm older in a sense, I don't play with people like that.
When it clicks, it clicks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I like that. I appreciate that, man, because I know that and you know this already though. If I ask you something that you don't want to answer, you just tell me that because I respect
Right,
it.
absolutely.
So I appreciate you answering that question because it's important, that people understand. I think for me, I don't necessarily have to have any gifts. I think you showing me affection. It's not like the touch, but you just being a genuine person towards me and showing me with your actions that you love me. That's all I need. Because I don't like, for instance, I keep it on golf because that's where I stay at. Okay, we got a question. We'll get to it, eyes. Uh, I don't want you to buy me any golf stuff because I'm very particular about what I want in golf. So I don't want you to buy something that I'm not going to use because it's not my thing. So I prefer you ask me or get me some golf shirts or something like that, and then that's okay. But I want you to show me by your actions. Like when you're mad and frustrated with me, I want you to still love me and care for me at them moments and not be no butthole towards me and curse me out and things like that. I'm not saying I can't take it, but when you start doing those things to me, I always say you start on it with a foundation, a solid foundation. And those things add up and chip away at that foundation that continually you're showing me in my mind that you really don't care nothing about my personal well-being. All you care about is getting your point across of how you want to talk to me at this time. And it's disrespectful because I would never ever raise my voice and curse you out. And I expect the same in return. So that's what I like. I like someone to show me with their actions in the bad times. Because the good times, it's easy to be good. But in the bad times, show me that you really care for me and my well-being, where you give me some grace to understand that I want this relationship just as much as you want this relationship. So there is no reason that you need to be mad at me and cursing me out. If I'm out there cheating, or hanging out all night in the club, totally different ball game. Totally different ball game then. But if I'm there present, you're there present every day, day in and day out, we have zero reason to be mad and not talking to each other. Now, we can be frustrated, but we have to have a time limit. We have to have a system to deal with that and get over that because it's no reason for it. And the reason I say that, and I'll stop talking about this, is that, and we'll answer the question, is that we never know when we leave the house if we're going to come back to that house. And I know people say, oh, that's just a saying. It's not a saying. I've lived that. I had an accident in 2023. I left here on my way somewhere, stop and hang out for a couple minutes and then go somewhere. The next thing I woke up after leaving that place, I was in the hospital. We never know if we're going to make it back to be able to apologize again. So that's a real thing. There's no reason if you're in a relationship to not clear everything up right away and move on and be positive, because you don't know if you're going to have an opportunity to do it tomorrow. I could pass away in my sleep. You could pass away in your sleep. So we gotta get through this part where we're cursing each other out and mad. And if you don't want to be there, just leave. All right. What's the question? I saw a question come up. What's the question?
Oh, wait. Before
Okay,
we
go
get to the
ahead.
question, I got two things. It's gonna be real quick.
Go
I
ahead.
like what you said with that. So the two things going along with what you said. Talking to somebody when you're going through some bad times, right? Because it's easy to do it when you're doing the clouds and skittles and rainbows and everything. Is freaking Powerpuff Girls. But it also states a lot about your character and what you really need to tolerate when you can talk to somebody, in a sense, when things aren't going as you plan. Especially when it comes to, it's easier for you to just shut down and just forget about it. You don't want that. I don't want that. So I like when you said that. And then the next one, right, is just the willingness to genuinely want to be there. There's people who say all these things and it sounds so good and extravagant. It sounds amazing. But the actions don't align with what they're saying. There's people who say things and genuinely want to be there. They'll genuinely show you where they are. Then there's people who just say things and they never follow through. And they never X, Y, and Z. And then, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who feel like, oh, I deserve this, or I deserve that, or I deserve this explanation. When people don't follow through with what they're saying, they're already telling me what I need to know. They're already telling me. When people be like, oh, in a sense, I got ghosted, you should be man or woman. They're already telling you what you need to know.
Yeah.
In a sense.
And you have to watch
that's all I
that.
want to say.
No, that's good. That's good stuff. You have to watch that because I'm going to talk to you about it and say, look, I felt like this when you did this and did that, and I thought we agreed to talk about it. I'm going to say that so many times. And then I'm going to start regressing, because that means that what you've told me that how we were going to maintain our relationship is not true. It's only true up until the part where you get frustrated with me. And that's a problem, because it should not be that way. If I'm saying we can talk about any and everything, and I'm not going to be, and I show you I'm not going to be mad with you about it, we should be able to do that. It's not that difficult. We make it so difficult because we only think about our perspective. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Even in my marriage, I realized going through counseling now that when she told me that she felt a certain way, and I knew I wasn't being that way, I didn't respond the right way. I did not, and I apologize for that. After the fact, I'm not going back, but I apologize for it because I realized at that point that I was not the person that I needed to be when she said she felt that way. I did not give her the opportunity to express herself openly, and I cut her down because I knew I wasn't that way. But it's not all about Mike, though. You know what I mean? It's not about me. It's about maintaining a healthy, open, communicative relationship. And I wasn't that way. So now, when someone say they feel a certain way, I'm going to acknowledge it, and I'm going to let them say what they have to say about it. And I'm going to listen without being defensive about it, because they don't know. Maybe that's what I'm portraying to them. But once we talk about it, and I tell you that, okay, we need to move on. That's not me. I don't need you to keep harping on it though, because I'm not gonna keep apologizing for something I'm not doing. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's
That's
tough
right.
though. But you have to talk about all those things though, man. And there's some good conversation, man, because all I think all we want to do is just we just want people to be able to get together. Well, there's two guys as friends, two ladies as friends, or couples and or whatever, and get along because this life is so short, man, that before we know it, it'll be over and we won't be there anymore. So we want to try to make sure people have the best outcome in their lives that they can have. And that's all we want to do. You know, that's what this is all about for me.
Absolutely. Look, we're on the same page. I concur.
Is there a time limit for healing after infidelity? No, there's not a time limit, but you have to be realistic about the other person's feelings and let them decide for themselves when they want to come. Now, we can't spend 2 years going through this. Now, that's unrealistic. But I think it has to be some
Right.
communication about how that's going to look, what that's going to look like because you may get 6 months. So where you say, you know what, we got to rebuild this thing because we just did something. Either you or I just did something that just blew the whole thing up. We messed it up. It's messed up. Infidelity, it can't get no. There's no bitter, no more. There's no worse deception, mistreatment of a person than infidelity in a relationship when you give your whole trust to that person. So we have to start over, and both of us are on a time limit to get better. It's not just the person that did the infidelity part, is both of us are rebuilding our relationship because that impacts both of us. I mean, what do you think, Legendary?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. There's no time limit, but at the same time, you need to be working towards something better or whatever the relationship or whatever happened. You need to be working towards it every day. It's something that you just not going, okay, we got there and now we can let our guard down. We can do this. We can, nah. It's something that you're going to have to consistently work on, especially when it comes to somebody being hurt in that dramatic fashion. I.e., just what you said, counseling, right? It's something that you're going to have to consistently do until you're able to get to a point to where it's like, all right, we can have open, honest communication. We can talk about everything, and we can just lay it all out and etc. But I think it's kind of unrealistic, me personally, to say, yeah, I'm gonna give it 6 months. I'm gonna give it 3 months because there's gonna be small things that's always gonna come up. But you love them enough to in a sense, pull that aside and say, nah, I still trust you. Oh, no, I said that I forgave you. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna move forward because now it's just human nature. You know what I mean? There's always gonna be small little red flags, or smaller. Oh, well, did he take it too long, or she take it too long? What's happening? And unfortunately, you don't want that to occur. But at the same time, you love them enough to move past that.
I
But
think I
yeah,
think the only time limit you can really put on is say, look, let's give ourselves 6 months, say, to try to work and start building towards this, to work and see if we still want to do this or not. Because once you've had that infidelity in there, all the things you said before that are lies because you have gone against all that by being out there with someone else. So now you're starting over. It's like a new relationship all over again. So I think there can be, look, we're going to take 6 months just to regroup and try to rebuild this thing. I'm not saying to be fixed or anything like that. I'm talking about to get
right.
what you just said, a clear vision about where you want to go in a relationship, whether you want to say you're going to divorce or whether you say that you want to stay together. And once that happens, like you said, the little red flags, they cannot come up. They can't come up because if you do that, you're just going right back to ground zero again, and you're lying again to you and that person that you said you forgive and forget. I don't agree with the forget part and when in that statement. I do agree with the forgive and grace part of it because there's no reason for me to bring up an infidelity that you did when we agreed that we were going to move on from it unless I don't want to be there. So if I don't want to be there, just leave. Just don't even waste the person's time and leave because it's no reason for it if you're going to stay. If you're not going to stay, then just move on.
I definitely agree.
Before we move on, once again, we thank Eyes and Lee for always being in the comments, in the background, looking out for us and making sure they keep us on cue. We thank Eyes and Lee for working on downloading the video to YouTube and also making sure that they build our weekly ads that we put out. You know, that takes a lot of work and a lot of creativity not to create the same thing over and over every week. So we really appreciate you ladies that have been there for us and looking out for us because without them there would be no us. You know, we would be out here just trying to we'll be freewheeling, and we're not about that. We're about being organized and accountable to our actions, and also accountable to you all by sharing our honest, open opinions about the things that we're going through. Hey, Legendary, also, I just want to say I appreciate you too, bro. When we started on this journey, man, this is it's come up on a year when we decided we were going to do this. Not a year doing the show, but a year on us deciding that we were going to do this, man. It was around
Yeah.
October time frame.
Nigga, about real
And
time.
I think I probably started coming to the room like in June, July, sometime last year, and just listening. I'm just in the chat, just listening to you. And there was more to it than just them dimples and them waves. You had substance. And I gravitated to that because really, someone at your age, I totally get that you're younger and there's availability and things like that. But at the same time, you're willing to come on here and be open to some extent because we're not open up everything to some extent where you're vulnerable to sharing what you're going through in life. So I really appreciate you being able to do that on a week to week basis with me. I appreciate you being like my little brother, man, where we can talk and share things together. That means a lot to me that you respect me enough and trust me enough to be able to do that towards you, man.
Hey, big bro, chill out, man. Nah, nah, nah. As always, man. Like the thought of us bringing our two lives, like on TikTok, bring them together to create a podcast. Man, like I remember having that conversation with Oz, and like me in a sense, kind of seeing the vision, but at the same time, I didn't know what it would look like. Like I knew what it would look like, but I didn't know what it would look like. And now that it happened and how it happened, we'll tell that story another time. But to see it flourish and say that, hey, we on episode 17 now, hey, big shout out. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. And for those of you who are wondering how old am I, I'm almost 40. Almost 40.
He's a young dude in here. I'm the old head. He's a young dude. I'm the old head.
Almost 40. I'm about to be a grandfather here in December. Come December, I'll have me a grandson. Oh Lord, don't know what emotional state or what's going to happen. Obviously, I'm gonna do the best that I can, but I'm getting ready to be a grandfather here in December, and I retire next year from the military. So, yeah,
Paw Paw pulls.
Papa pool.
Paw Paw pulls. Bro, do it.
All right, y'all. As always, man, we appreciate y'all for showing up and showing love.
How
If
old
you
am I?
want to watch all the, huh?
No,
60.
I was letting you talk. That's how old I'm 60.
Oh,
Six
so
zero.
you, big bro, 60, man. But yeah, if you want to see all the previous episodes that you missed, it's on YouTube. If you want to go to it quick, just go YouTube channels up there. Go ahead and listen to the previous episode. As always, though, thank y'all for the support and love. Lee, as always, you know what I'm saying? Always doing your Bitcoin. Big bro, as always, my co-host, you know what I'm saying? Let y'all know the flyer will be out here soon for next week's live. It's gonna be Saturday, hopefully the same time. So y'all just gonna look out for that. Other than that, though, y'all be great, go be amazing, and be the reason someone smiles this week. Y'all be safe.
Take care. One love.